Hi, everyone. This is your professor, Dr. Lisa English Dowdell. Today, we're going to have a short but important discussion that ties everything you've been working on together. We'll be focusing on how to use your user research and testing results to create a thoughtful and professional mockup for your design. So, first, what exactly is a mockup? So, a mockup is a static visual representation of a website. Now, unlike a wireframe, which is more about structure and layout, a mockup adds the visual elements like color, typography, imagery, and spacing to help stakeholders visualize what the final site might look like. And unlike a prototype, it's not interactive. It's about the look and the feel. But here's the thing, a mockup isn't just about making something look great. It's about making intentional design decisions that are based on research that you've done. This means the changes you propose should solve real user problems, not just follow trends or look cool. So, how do we connect the dots between user research and design? So, think back to the usability testing that you did, your personas, and any feedback that you collected. So, for example, if your user said that they couldn't find the contact us link, that tells you that there's a problem with visibility. So in your redesign, maybe you move that link, to the top of the menu bar and highlight it, maybe with a button or something. Another example is if users were confused about the site's navigation. So maybe your mockup simplifies the menu or groups content a little bit more logically. Now, that brings us to a key part of your milestone, explaining your design choices. Now, it's not enough to show the mockup, but you'll need to briefly explain why you made the choices that you did. So you want to use simple and clear reasoning. For example, we moved the call to action button above the fold because user testing showed that visitors weren't scrolling down to see it. We increased contrast between the text and background to improve readability for users with low vision. Think of yourself as the spokesperson for your design. You're advocating for your users. Now let's talk quickly about how to make your mockups look professional, even if you're not a designer. So here's a few key tips. One is use consistent alignment and spacing. Things should line up and feel balanced. Second is to create a clear visual hierarchy. So your heading should stand out. Important elements should be easy to spot. And then leave breathing room. Don't cram everything together. White space is going to be your friend. And then make sure it's readable. Use legible fonts, and accessible color contrast. And then last, keep it simple. Don't over design. Your goal is clarity and usability. Now, if you're wondering how to create your mockup, here's a few tools that you can try. Most of them are free, or maybe they have like free tiers. So you've got Figma, you've got Adobe XD, you've got Balsamiq, and then you've got Canva. Balsamiq is good for like wireframes. Canva is simple to use, but it's effective for layout ideas. Pick the one that feels comfortable to you. Don't worry about perfection. Just focus on communicating your redesign clearly. I'll put some links to some different other maybe tutorials or resources that can help you when using these tools to create, your mockups. Okay, so let's recap. So your mockup should be a visual expression of the user-centered changes that you're proposing. So let your research guide your design. Be ready to explain your decisions clearly and aim for a clean, consistent, and professional look. Now, this week, if you're watching this video because you're taking my course, you're encouraged to share your drafts and get feedback within the discussion board. Collaboration and critique are going to be the essential parts of a design process. So take advantage of that space. Upload your designs, ask questions of your peers. So that's it for our quick lecture today. Now, if you have any questions or you want feedback on your mockup, please feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, keep moving forward on milestone 4, and I can't wait to see your redesigns.